Hey guys, it's Retro Rose here. Welcome back to another Mushy Monday where we play cute and cozy games. And if you're new here, again, my name is Retro Rose. I play a variety of games from indie horror, cute and cozy, mushy, puzzle solving, adventure, name it. And I hope that after this video, you become a part of my Rose Garden. But without further ado, we're going to continue the series, our Life Now and Forever demo update. The developers had made some major updates. I believe the newest moment here is Fancy Fun. So a part of me kind of wants to start with Fancy Fun since it's new. So I think I'll do Fancy Fun, Walks, and then Wheels. So let's do that. Yes. Fancy Fun. Oh, I see some ballerina shoes. There's any, I mean, well, maybe. Well, okay. I guess there's nothing we can. Bandages. Bandages. I think everything is fine. Tap tap. Raindrops kept coming down. It's been drizzling the entire day. Ma had stayed late in the morning to drive you to school so you wouldn't have to ride it through. Oop. Until then, the clouds would stay, your ma would be gone, school would end, and the Lynns would be looking after you. Granny was always the first to volunteer to keep an eye on you, love being included in your life. And Tamarack's grandma had no job or club or classes, as far as you knew anyway. Socializing with the townspeople was her whole day. Mr. and Mrs. Lynn were busier people, normally. But that afternoon, Granny had some kind of important errand, and it included Tamarack too. Both of them were out of the neighborhood. Meanwhile, Mr. Bamman was away doing stuff a retired person wasn't supposed to be. That was how Ma had said it, though you were sure she was just quoting Granny's paraphrasing. Besides, even if Tamarack's grandfather didn't have his own meetings, you couldn't imagine him being a babysitter without his wife or granddaughter around to help. You have to be more of an elder sitter than him to take care of you. So that means it was Quay's family who'd make sure you were safe and sound until your ma could come home. It didn't mean that they weren't still as swamped as ever. Mr. Lynn had client calls, Miss Lynn had chores, and Autumn had ballet class. Autumn is in ballet. Oh. It was an unknown thing to you. You never had a lesson at the ballet hall. That's all. He decided to go to Autumn to his decided to stay at Autumn's house. Decided to go with Autumn to his class. There was nothing better to do. You were pretty curious about the lessons. I didn't know. Oh, that's cool. You stood in the corner of a massive open space, like pretty much everywhere in Golden Grove. The dance hall felt old, though not in a way that was worn down. The wood floors had such a shine and almost as good as the real mirrors that covered a full wall. But it seemed like the type of room you'd find a Victorian mansion, with its golden chandeliers and patterned ceilings. Little by little, kids around your age filled into the room before practice began. No matter how many came, it never got crowded. The high walls and long stretch board kept the students as only a small part of this grand hall. Oh my God! Look at Quay. Quay had stuck close by since you'd arrived. You could easily feel alone there if the person you knew was just on the other side of the room. He had a leotard on. Mrs. Lynn had put his hair into a bun before she left. Quay made sure to bring his jacket. He wasn't allowed to wear it during class. It was hanging on a coat rack for later. You've never seen Quay look less Quay though. His expression was familiar. Quay kept grinning at you, bouncing up and down on the ball of his feet. There was a lot he wanted to say, except he couldn't. He didn't have time. The lesson would begin any second. And it was right then that the teacher announced everyone should go to the bear. Dozens of slipper-cladded feet thumped against the wood. It sounded chaotic from the number of people and the way each footstep echoed in the closet off space. But there was a method to the madness. Before your eyes, the frantic movement sorted itself. The dancers in neat tutus and leggings found their assigned places on the secluded stage. Quay's spot was near the front of the line, or end depending on how you saw it. You were the only kid left at the back. Rose, you can sit on the floor there and watch the class, or you could join our practice for today. It'd be fun, but you need to take it as serious as everyone else. No matter what you do, We can't have a distraction. I would just watch. I just want to watch. That's fine. Enjoy the show. Autumn snuck you a low thumbs up before setting his hand on the bear. Lesson began with what the teacher called the ABCs of ballet, or something that was treated as the simplest, most baby-safe part of ballet. They used such fancy words for the moves. I've never heard of these. That meant to do? Round de jambe? Oh my gosh. I've never heard of that. Students focus on specific actions at a time, repeating it before moving on to something else. If the position needed one foot, then they started with one side and did it all over on the other. Right off the bat, it was clear that this group was not at equal skill levels. Some needed to keep two hands on the bear, only some only held on with one. How far they could bend, how high they could get on their toes, how much their knees shook, it varied with every person. They had a long way to go if they wanted their overall performance to be uniform. Practice continued step by step, and the ballet instructor hardly needed a giant mirror to see the reflection of their pose. Quay was right there. He flowed into each move with a confident grace as the teacher acted it out for the sakes of younger and less experienced students. You couldn't call yourself a ballet expert. You hardly knew what proper ballet was. Suppose you looked like, but you were sure Quay had some of the best balance there. His smile had never gone away, though it became as delicate as his motions. Quay was completely focused. At some point, the teacher stopped giving orders. The kids let go of the bear and hushed excitement overtook the room. Something was happening. They calmed students, but yes, it's time for practice our recital. For the sake of the guests, you, the teacher, took a bit of lesson time to explain how the class would be performing the Nutcracker Ballet. Oh. Having you there is perfect, apparently. You were now an official audience. The students could get used to being watched as they performed. We're told that even a practice would be more entertaining to view than the basics they were doing. Each kid had a unique part that they would play. As an example, it was pointed out that the person you come to ballet with had a role of the Nutcracker Prince. Of course, Mr. Quaylen was the Nutcracker Prince. He danced through any hoops to be the star of the show. Everybody resumed their positions from where the events had left off in the last class. It was when the noble Nutcracker Prince and evil Mouse King would clash over Clara, the leading lady. Quay and a boy you didn't know take prop swords out of the supply box. They strutted towards the center of the floor. That is so adorable. Before the two wail on each other with wooden sticks, there was a refresher. The instructor became Prince and King and Lady, having the students in each row follow along with her guidance. The three young dancers showed off their forms and how it was the strongest of the class. Nobody could question why they stood out from the crowd. Then it was time to put routine together as a single piece. It was time for the lead to truly perform. And that's when the problems showed themselves. The event got off on an all right start, sure, but the longer the show drew on, the shakier Quay's portrayal of the hero became. He forgot where to stand, did moves out of order, and totally stalled because he didn't know what came next. Everything that could have been a problem was a problem. Each time Quay hit a block, he would glance towards his teacher with a wondering look. He wanted to hint or maybe permission to stop this disaster. What he got was whisper encouragements to simply keep going. No matter what happened, they'd finish the scene. Oh. You gave him a grin, it was going to be okay. And by being okay, it meant things would be fine even if he kept tripping up, which is what he did a lot. But he did smile at your gesture, though. The performance crawled on until the death of the dance was officially called. End scene. You did it. Everyone, great work completing the scene. But Quay, remember what I said about learning the steps. I won't be there to direct you during the real show. The 3 won't be an option to pause and try again either. Hey, you learn stuff by practicing, and that's what I'm doing right this second. What else can I do? Great ballet steps magically beam into my brain. The dance instructor was good at keeping students focused and orderly, but that broke their concentration. Laughter filled the hall. True, that is what we're here for, but the recital is only a few months away, so keep working on it. Yes, teacher, I'm working on it. Quay said simply with a shrug of his fake sword. Recital practice took up almost the remaining of class time, though there was a brief cool down session right at the end. After that, bows and curtsies were given to the teacher while the pupils were praised for their bright and beautiful performances. You got an acknowledgement too. The teacher appreciated your presence and hope you enjoyed the show. Oh, the music. I love the music. You had enjoyed it. As the rest of the class left, Quay grabbed his jacket off the rack and threw it over his black leotard. He didn't put it on to go outside. He went as little time as possible without wearing that no matter what. Instead, Quay came over to where you were waiting for Ma to pick you up. Hey, that was cool afternoon, huh? You got to sneak peek of the show. Uh-huh. Putting on a phony, humble attitude, Quay admitted some new details on his ballet career. It might be hard to believe, but this is going to be my first real recital ever. The dances I did when I was probably 5 or something didn't count. Wow, I've never gone on stage before. This is my debut, and it's dancing as the main thing. Oh, I can't talk because I'm so excited. I'm sorry. I've never gone on stage before. This is my debut, and it's dancing as the main thing. I'm the Nutcracker in the Nutcracker. The whole thing is named after me. There was no attempt to downplay the achievement then. Quay boasted plainly. That's so rude. Oh my God. Congratulations, Autumn. Yeah. Pretending to be nonchalant again, Quay turned his face away from you and popped up on his toes. I wasn't sure if I even wanted to do it, but they begged me to. Quay pressed his hand clutched into a fist to his chest, expressing the apparent desperation of other people to have him as the Nutcracker. You're the best in the class, they said. After such a dramatic declaration, he moved an arm to shyly rub the back of his head instead. Well, I'm the best boy in the class, that's what they said. Quay's words kept coming through in uncharacteristically mumbly way. There's not a lot of boys in the class, and a lot of them don't take it really seriously. I didn't have to audition and win to be the prince. The teacher gave it to me. I'm not good at doing the long dance routines. There we go. Somebody like Baxter would have gotten the role for sure if he was in the class. But Baxter doesn't do ballet. He's in a higher age group anyway. So if it wasn't me, who else could do it? Quay hugged his jacket closer, seeming small in the accessory that normally fit him perfectly. When Quay was being his ballet self, it didn't hang the same way. A role had been placed on him, and Quay cared about getting the performance right, whether the steps made sense to him or not. That let you see things in Quay you never really saw: stress, uncertainty, and discomfort. It made you sad. Oh, good luck, Autumn. Thanks. But forget this. I'm a million times better than I was when I first started. Listen, be doing the bear, and everyone would stick out their right leg for something except me. I'd have my left leg hanging out there. Then the class would be twirling around at the same time in the same direction besides me, left again. Quay himself was the joke that got Quay laughing, and he still wanted you to join in with it. The same way it happened with the other kids during the recital practice. At least I don't do that anymore, most of the time. But that means I can keep getting better if I keep trying, and when the recital happens, it's gonna be perfect. Quay declared that as truth and immediately changed the subject, as if he might have spoken reality into going the wrong way if the world had more time to react to those words. My mom isn't coming right now. I'm going to stay at the dance hall until like dinner so I can go hang out with Baxter. He's got to do his own private ballroom practice with a personal tutor today. Oh, rich kids, right? But that means you and me get a whole dance floor to ourselves until whenever your mom gets here. Oh. I hope you practice. Quay quirked a grin and his eyebrows perked. You want to be Claire? Yeah, I'll be Claire. For a second, he just looked at your face and thought. You held his gaze, and then Quay stuck his hand on his hips, leaned forward. All right, let's do it. Quay fetched the same sword out of the supply basket before returning to the dead center of the shining wood floor. Your nutcracker faced the invisible looming threat ahead. He pointed directly at the empty air. Stand back, dear Claire. I will protect you from this fiend. I know you will, my hero. His eyes had a dazzling sparkle. Quay pretended to be a nutcracker who was secretly a prince, flapped his jacket out in a grand motion. It was an ideal substitute for a royal cape. He then swung his plastic weapon forward. You followed along the steps of Claire as best as you knew them. The strike was a stunning stab, cutting through the imaginary form of an evil king. You pressed a hand dramatically to your forehead at the horror of what was unfolding. Then Quay stepped right into the next twist of the dance. This was the part Quay had the most confidence with, the very first motions. Between longing looks and the desperate plea for his safety, the prince went all out in his own role. It was moving the way the two leads in the story refused to be parted despite the odds. Though with no one to properly react to, Quay completely lost the plot, not even halfway through, and yet the scene continued without stopping. You were fine if Quay needed to stop, but he committed to the fight. He clashed against the mistakes and frustration that threatened to defeat him. Even though the steps in the routine were wrong, you could really believe he was Claire's beloved nutcracker who pinned her to the end. And then, like bad kind of magic, the world of cursed nutcrackers and mouse kings vanished before your eyes. Ma was there. Oh, it was a time ago. Ooh, what is going on? Blowing me up today. Okay, Mom was there. It was time to go. And had it seriously stopped raining already? Surprisingly, Quay squeaked, embarrassed to be caught doing that show he had a role in. Yes, we couldn't do this forever. His first instinct was to tuck the sword behind his back out of sight, but if that wasn't a good enough solution to not be caught wielding a weapon, he'd drop it completely. For what Ma could gather from the interpreted scene, it was something worth smiling about. Quay called across the room to her. Hi, Mrs. Smith. And more quietly to you, he said, bye, Rose. It was a perfect practice. Perfect. It was great practice. Gotta be better now. Bye, Autumn. Content you went with your mom. In the second it took for you to cross the floor, Ma had already managed to find and get into conversation with the ballet instructor. She had to thank the ballerina for letting you sit in on the lesson. She had to thank the ballerina for letting you sit in on the lesson, and the instructor thanked Ma for allowing you to spend an afternoon in her dance hall. It was a pretty much Thanksgiving at that point. This was a season for it anyway. The celebration of appreciation didn't last all day though, and she turned to you. Outside was about as cold as it had been ever since you moved there, which was a lot, but it was a whole lot more damp now. Rain might not have been falling directly in your head and you didn't have an umbrella to get home, but it was still all around. You felt it. You could feel it. You could smell it. A powerful earthy scent. Puddles covered the sidewalk. Dodging them completely was impossible. You knew you tried. But the both of you made it to the car mostly dry. Your mom started a short drive to the neighborhood. When you did finally return home after a long day, Ma turned on the lights and up the heater. The old building was drafty, with 1,000 hidden cracks that could let cold creep in. You had to baby the furnace, according to Ma. Then you filled Ma in on everything that happened during the ballet class. Ma had her own additions to the conversation. She chatted about her work. You were happy to let her talk and react to the different parts of her story. In the middle of Ma telling a highly redacted story about her HR endeavors, her phone buzzed. Ma never had the ringer on. Vibrate only was her rule of life. She got the device out and reading the caller ID, the corners of her mouth pulled up. Well, look who it is. It's Miss Bayamon. Oh, Granny. Did that mean that the errands were over? Had Tamarack come back? Anticipation filled her stomach with fuzzies. Ma motioned to bring the phone to her ear before thinking better of it. She decided that for this call, you could be included. She answered by turning on the speaker. Hello, Dorothea. Rose is right here with me. How are you? Both of you braced your ears for blaring old lady exclamation to go off in your living room any second. It never came. Instead, there was just a powerful fake old lady squeal. It's me, Omi. Okay, Tamarack. I'm glad somebody asked how I am for a change. I go around checking to see how everyone else is all the time. But when does anyone take care of me? Never. It's definitely not Miss Bayamon person on the other end of the line. Couldn't keep up with the act for a second longer. She giggled gleefully. It was definitely Tamarack. Ma had to press a few fingers to her lips to stop from joining in on the laughter. The joke was too much at Miss Bayamon's expense for it to be kosher. Well, Omi, this is Rose's boss and speaker. I know that voice. You're not Rose's mom, you're Rose. And I'm not Omi, I'm Tamarack. The game was up. Tamarack breathed nosily through the phone speaker. It was an attempt to speak more calmly for the next part. I'm having a tea party right now. You're invited. The attempt hadn't worked. There's gonna be tea, snacks, and our best china. I don't know why plates and stuff have the same name as the country. But that's what Omi calls them. Did Tamarack just invite you to a tea party? A tea party? You glanced from her phone to Ma, trying to work out her thoughts on the matter. You concluded they were positive. She moved her free hand over her chest and raised her left brow. Fine china, huh? That sounds wonderful. Quick question. Is there a dress code for this proper occasion? Oh, Tamarack gasped at the thought. One more piece of the puzzle had snapped into place. The picture of an ideal tea party was coming together in the world behind her ruby eyes. Yeah, I can get my special German dress. Rose can wear something nice too if you wanna. With the goal so close, Tamarack couldn't wait for you or anyone else to comment on the last minute addition. She barreled to the final matter of planning. Is Quay home? He should come too. He's not there. Quay stayed at the dance hall. Oh, then the whole party would be me and you. It's gonna be great. The second noise bomb rattled your brain. Wow, you didn't know that the last time you heard Tamarack that excited. And that was a pretty big deal because a lot of things excited her. This party had to be something special. Ma could sense that too. Her thrill was unmistakable. Quay might have been getting an itch that he was missing out on something all the way across town, but despite Tamarack's energy pulsing into the whole world, the feeling was only for you. Your ma discreetly placed your side of the call on mute. So, will you RSVP? I can break the bad news if you rather not, but I don't have a problem with you going over. She hovered her phone screen at your eye level in case you wanted to talk to Tamarack directly. The choice was fully on you. You tapped the sound back on. You could tell Tamarack what you thought. I'd love to come to your party. Really? She cheered. We're having a tea party, thank you. Guess what? Now this is the best friends only tea party. That was right. Okay. For the first time this whole phone call, Tamarack wrangled her enthusiasm under control. It was time to make the event of her dream into a reality. You could step inside. Rose, you can come through the back door. You don't have to knock. It's not locked. Omi and Opa don't need to let you in. Also bring honey and milk if you have any. She was having a tea party while out of honey and milk. How did that happen? Your mom, who was super smart lady, also found it unusual. You were looking for an answer somewhere and she had none to give. But there was no time to think about reasonable things like that. Bye. They are so adorable and I love this. Everything went quiet. Tamarack hung up. This was so amazing. Though it happened and ended so fast, it didn't feel like a real thing. It was a good thing you had another witness to the invitation. Today has taken a turn. Do you want to change it to something like a little fancier? You did wanna. Go then. You got a party to attend. Not wasting another minute, you went up the stairs and into your bedroom, heart pounding the whole way. You used both hands to shove aside the hefty fall coat hanging in your closet to get the good stuff. Since Tamarack was wearing her German dress, you wanted to wear something with cultural heritage too. And there was... Oh, okay. Let's do special. At certain points in the story, you may want to dress your character in a special clothing that reflects their cultural heritage. More clothing options as well as information on the currently available options will be added in the future. Keep an eye out for those updates. Okay. I don't see one for mine in particular. Maybe that'll work. Yeah. Ooh, let's do some earrings. Yay. Properly dressed for the occasion, you made your grand reappearance in the extra pretty clothes. Ma grinned and her ears sparkled more than any opal stone. Ready? Really, it made those jewels seem like nothing more than plain old rocks. It was one of those rare times you actually remembered she was a Ma who was seeing her daughter when she was looking at you. Usually Ma's glances didn't make you feel like a child, but she was proud of the person she was raising. You were glad somebody like that got to be your parent. It's lucky the rain stopped. She mumbled that appreciation under her breath. Ma wouldn't want anything to rain on your parade or mess up the nice outfit you had on. Well, we better make a pit stop at the land of milk and honey, the kitchen. Ma gave a polite chuckle at her own statement. It wasn't overly powerfully funny as Granny impression. However, this was perfectly appropriate to find amusing. Land of Milk and Honey was a book. Your mom made a punny joke. Of course, gotta be milk and honey for the tea party. That's good of you. It's polite to bring a gift to events of such import, even if it's a last minute. I'll grab the honey. Some of these old cupboards are high. Even adults who weren't as tall as me would need the stepping stool to reach. You get the milk. Like usual, Mom made a plan that got things done in the way that used both of your skills, her talents at being super tall and yours at having hands that could open the fridge. The two of you went together before splitting off to different parts of the kitchen. You have to open the door of the fridge and kept all the coldness inside and searched around with your eyes for where the milk is hiding. Your family like to use, ooh, I'm more of an almond milk girly. Almond milk. And I have used oat milk, and that's it. Though, of course, the mom never had all of those in the fridge at one time. You switch between different types each week. Right now, you could bring big oat milk. And there it was, right next to the eggs. Ma liked to get the brown colored one. And in front of the pot of leftover spaghetti sauce, it was probably going to be dinner for that night. But you got a hold of your target. The milk in the left carton sloshed around. Hopefully this would be okay. At least it was some milk instead of none. Back in the living room, Ma handed you the supplies she picked up from the top shelf. A sticky squeeze bottle of honey called Source in Oregon. The honey had gotten kind of crystally at the bottom, but it did say it was made from real wildflowers. Wildflowers, perfect for a girl like Tamarack. Wrong here. It was time to go as carefully as possible. You did not want to spill anything all over other special clothes while walking the milk and honey over there. Enjoy yourself, Rose. Just give me a call if you'll be there past dinner. She said it was with a wave as you left your home. Ma wouldn't want you to miss having another serving of her garlic basil tomato sauce. After all, nothing happened in the 2 minutes it took to go from your house to the back of Tamarack. But you did have some close calls with some of the puddles around. Standing on the uneven steps of Tamarack's back door, you balanced a bottle of honey and carton of milk in one arm so you could take a hold of the knob. Casually, you gave the thing a turn and the door opened right up. You peered down the long hall. It was empty of people anyway. Furniture still choked the hallway. Hello? Nothing. Shutting the door behind you, you wandered towards the opposite end of the space. It was only Tamarack's house, but everything suddenly seemed off. This was the first time you've navigated the cluttered space by yourself, and with the way you'd entered all on your own too, you couldn't help but feel like you were a burglar. They would have had plenty to say about that if they were here. In your highly attentive state, a glint caught your eyes and you twisted your head that way. Candy bowl. It was still filled to the brim with the same candies from when you moved in. The treats tempted you faintly, glittering like a chest of long-lost treasure in the amber light of the Bayamon house. But in the instant a different one of your senses went off. You heard a small creak, came from above, and your head snapped up. Tamarack was at the top of the stairs, though only her face peeked out from behind the edge of the banister. Oh, that's so gorgeous. Come up here to my room. A beckoning was all you got before the girl vanished out of sight like a headless ghost. Or no, the opposite. Tamarack was acting as if she was a ghost whose only floating head. Of course, that wasn't a monster. She was your friend, and you weren't going to ignore her invitation. You climbed the old blue steps, feeling anticipation build as you got closer to the top. Oh, are you going to see her room? If this house was a museum or an antique store, for real, instead you just looked like, instead of just looking like one, then the second floor had to be an employees only area. Good thing you were an invited guest. Tamarack continued to quietly guide you on. Instead of the magic flying head, it was a mysterious levitating arm. She wiggled it up and down in the open doorway. That had to be her room. Went to meet her for real, and oh, it's so pretty. You rubbed your eyes and double checked if you were seeing things the way that they were supposed to. You were in a kid's real life bedroom or a dollhouse. Somebody shrunk you to the size of a thumb and placed you in a playset when you weren't looking. It had to be. Human people didn't actually live in places like that, right? Each of the many pieces of vintage furniture and decorations had delicate lace or a flowery pattern or both. The bed was huge, bigger than not just yours, but your mom's too. And all of it highlighted the weighty chandelier hanging from the ceiling. Fifth graders were allowed to have chandeliers in their room? I think this fits you. Thanks. She called from off in the one corner. Tamarack herself was halfway into a bag, a pink toy box, busy doing something. It was more than a head or arm, but still definitely not the whole Tamarack. You could only stand there, waiting and watching. Who created this wonderland, you thought, despite already knowing the answer? Granny put her whole heart into decorating. It seemed to be designed specifically to be the setting of a whimsical tea party. Maybe you should give her the wildflower honey. After tossing aside some teddy bears and toy jewelry, Tamarack raised a scarf, a floral patterned scarf, into the air. This can be a napkin. It's kind of like a handkerchief. It was an extra thin type of scarf. One that looked nice. You'd feel horribly cold if you wore it out in this weather, but that'd still make for an extravagant napkin. You never doubt Tamarack's commitment to fancies again. With her prize in hand, Tamarack skipped towards the doorway. Finally, the different bits and pieces you've seen during your adventure. Finally, the different bits and pieces you'd been seeing during your adventure through the house came together into a single girl. Her overall and stripy sweater with the holes in it were gone. Even her messenger bag was almost never out of reach. It was nowhere to be seen. They'd been replaced with a dainty dress, which must have been her special German clothes. And across her chest was a golden chain strap of a classy purse. Both elements of the outfit could be described as old-fashioned, though in very different ways. One could be styled from when Granny was young, meaning forever ago, but the other was from so long in the past. It could be in the history books. Tamarack didn't have shoes to match their concept. She had only a pair of white socks on her feet. There were a few small holes in those. It seemed there were 30 kind of old mess. It might have only been a few months, but for well-used socks, that was ancient. Pink. God put something on my heart just now. I just want to say I appreciate everybody that watches my channel. Like, you have no idea how much it means to me that even if you stop by for a few seconds, a few minutes, or a couple of hours just to watch my content, I'm just happy to bring it to you guys. I'm wanting to bring content in a way that my dad kind of brought it to me. I used to sit up under my dad when he played video games, and I watch people on YouTube play video games. It's my way of honoring him, and it just brings this joy, this sense of joy to know that even if you can't play this or you don't have access to it, that I'm down to play it for you guys. So if you have any suggestions, I'm down to play it. If you are curious about certain decisions and you want to go back and watch it, have those playlists available. But it's because of you guys that I do this, and it's a way to honor my dad. But that was on my heart for some reason to say, but I'm gonna keep going. She showed herself off with a perfect princess twirl, arms stretched out at her sides. Tamarack wasn't usually the kind of kid who did proper poses. Proper pose? Okay. That was more of Quay's thing. But considering what the backdrop looked like, it only made sense. This was a princess's bedroom, and there was a big bow on the back of her dress. You saw it during her spin. Tamarack ended the little presentation of her tea party gown by showing you a huge smile. Ta-da! That's kind of rude. Tamarack, you're so beautiful. Tamarack giggled, wishing her hem of her polka-dotted skirt. Aw, thanks, Rose. Tamarack then popped the thought in your head with the clap. What kind of clothes are those? I've never seen an outfit like that. You're American. No. They made Tamarack wow. And hey, you've got earrings on. That's amazing, Rose. You're so stylish, so grown up. She liked it. She really did. Tamarack wouldn't lie. She said what she thought, and you could die happy as a 10-year-old. Oh, right, the stuff you brought. Oh, wait, here. It's the stuff you wanted. I brought it. Thanks, Rose. Your grocery store supplies made this celebration of the century, at least to her. It hadn't made any difference that it was oat milk. That's really good. You have no idea. How are people supposed to drink tea without any honey or milk? Since the diner scene, Shotty, I've been interested in tasting tea with honey and milk at this point. Tamarack slipped behind you to slowly shut the door. Come on, bring it over this way. Then she bounced off, walking on air. Not having shoes on made her feet extra light. I can't believe you're here. She spoke the high-pitched words as a volume never would have expected low. For as long as you'd known her, which wasn't long, but long enough to realize this, most of what Tamarack said felt like it had an exclamation point at the end. But that hadn't been happening the whole conversation. She must have been scolded for yelling in the house already, or maybe Tamarack decided shouting wasn't proper behavior for a tea party. That was probably it. She played by her own rules, like how the floor of her room was covered in toys that had been haphazardly shoved only partially under the bed to clean space on the rug for a set of fine china. Fragile-looking plates and teacups were spread over the ground in a vague circular shape. In the center of that was a platter of snacks and a plain pink teapot with rose painted along the bottom part. The cap of the pot had an actual sculpted rose at the tippy top. I couldn't find a table, but this makes it like a picnic but inside. She plopped down in front of one of the place setters, pointing to where you could sit. You took your spot on the opposite side of the arrangement and added your things to hers. All right, my first best friend's Golden Globe. Oh, all right, my first best friend's Golden Grove tea party starts now. In an instant, your view was blocked by an array of tea packets. Tamarack held and spread up to your face like a paper fan. You've seen the scene in movies, TV shows where people bashfully hid behind decorative fans, even if it was sometimes over tea, but it wasn't that. You're the guest. You can pick what flavor you want first. This is what I've got. You narrow your eyes at the spread, trying to figure out the types of tea among the layers of her fan. There was 4 options. Of course, Tamarack mounted was far more than 4 individual packets, but a lot of them were the same type. Vanilla chamomile, ooh. Your peppermint, ooh. Mixed berry and cinnamon apple. Ah, that vanilla chamomile sounds good. It was nice of her to offer to let you pick first and give you so many options. That was just like her. You went with the chamomile because that sounds delicious. You slit the packet you wanted out of between her short fingers. I was thinking about that one too. I will have it, and we'll both be drinking the same thing. cat hair everywhere. After dumping the unwanted tea into a heap, Tamarack tore open the chamomile packet and placed it in the cup closest to you. Next, she recovered a black thermos that had been buried in toys and must have gotten swept aside in her rush to clean before you got there. This way, we don't have to go downstairs and heat it up in the microwave. I like doing it in the microwave because if you put the bag heat in the water, the tea gets done way faster. But putting the tea in water that's already hot is what people like to do at tea parties. Tamarack chatted while screwing off the top of the thermos. Rather than wait for her, you picked up your own cup and held it up. She poured the hot water from the thermos into the teapot and then the teapot into your raised cup. It would have taken less time to pour the water directly from a thermos, but using a teapot was also what people did at tea parties. You stared at the cup that at your feet, a plain golden color, had already begun to seep into the clear water. Rising with the steam came from comforting scent of chamomile. Tamarack cut through the gentle wisp with a spoon. It was for you. And guess what? I've got sugar packets. She announced with a grin on her face and music in her voice. You grasped a spoon in one hand, smiling at Tamarack's syrupy, sweet song. If she kept that up, no one would need the actual sugar packets. Not really, though. Words couldn't sweeten tea, and she did stop anyway. You squeezed honey into your cup. You kept squeezing until you felt it was just the right amount. And you dumped in a packet of sugar. And that was good. Okay. That's good. I'd add milk to make it the best. Oh, you can eat any of the finger foods you want. Tamarack pointed at the center place platter using the spoon. She decided to keep it as her own. There, on a plate, laid out in a neat row, were 3 chocolate cream sandwich cookies. A matching trio of chocolate chip cookies went along those sides. And framing the top and bottom of the dual lines was a peanut butter cookie in the shape of an actual peanut. So the finger food was cookies, but it was a good amount for a party of 2, enough for you and her to have one of each and a couple extra. Your hostess decided it was all right for her to tend to her own needs then. Tamarack tea consisted of 2 packets of sugar, a glob of honey, and the rest of the cup space filled with milk. She stirred the slurry daintily with her own teaspoon, extra careful to not make a mess. It still spilled just a little. A few drops managed to sneak out. They crawled down the side of the pristine china teacup. Obviously, to the mistake, Tamarack took a nice big drink of her tea, and she followed that with a dreamy sigh. This is the life, Rose. She was the best of the successful celebration, and you were the guest of honor there. It's kind of magical what we're doing. We're the same as fairies at a feast. Yeah, that's exactly what it is, a fairy feast. Tamarack straightened her back, flattered by the new perception of herself and her party. Then, keeping the fairy concept in her tone, Tamarack told you a story from her past. She explained how the first time she saw this china set was when she was only visiting her grandparents as a little girl. They thought this was a meaningful enough occasion to use it. That had stood out in Tamarack's earlier memories. While smiling and speaking, Tamarack gently clasped both hands around her teacup. It was an unconscious gesture, but her eyebrows soon raised. She noticed the sticky trail of tea drying on the side of her cup. Tamarack couldn't let that stay. Right away, she used that silky scarf to try to scrub off the spill from before. She noticed the sticky trail of tea drying on the side of her cup. Tamarack wouldn't let that stay. Right away, she used the silky scarf to try to scrub off the spill from before. During that breaking conversation, you fully took in a scene you'd found in yourself. You and Tamarack sat together across shedded packets of tea and sugar and an easily breakable tea set, all alone in a closed room. It was strange when you really thought about it. This was the longest Tamarack had willingly chosen to sit still, as far as you'd seen. In school and at normal meals, she wouldn't have had much choice. But then, when she did, Tamarack preferred to be on the move. And even more unexpected was that she'd do it here, in the house, even if it was her own room. It'd make more sense for Tamarack to throw a tea party in the woods or at least her backyard. Yeah, that's what I thought too when she mentioned tea party. I thought she would like have it outside. There was a table with 2 chairs there. You'd seen it when you came in. Yeah, it had been raining before, but stopped a while ago. She did have her special dress on and the good dishes. I never would have thought you'd have a tea party inside. Me either. What would have surprised you was the story about how doing it in her extravagantly decorated room made the event even more proper, and she just felt like being fancy one time. That was not the answer you got. Her twirling eyes pinched in and her mischievous smile pulled up. I'm not allowed to go outside. Huh? What? She looked ready to burst, like keeping her yelling inside was seriously going to kill her from exploding. I'm grounded. Oh, I like flew past that. I'm so sorry. Let's look at that real quick. As she looked ready to burst, like keeping her yelling inside was seriously going to kill her from it exploding at once. Tamarack still cheered with as much quiet joy as she could. Tamarack, I'm grounded. Huh? Omi told me I'm not allowed to go downstairs for the whole rest of the day, but I can leave my room if I'm walking around upstairs. That's so I can use the bathroom out there and stuff. But it's also how I made this tea party. I got everything from my room and their room and upstairs hall, and Omi and Opa don't even know you're here. Tamarack concluded her revelation all fluffed up and giggly, though still keeping her voice more hushed than normal. And finally things clicked to your brain why self-pronounced Forest is better than everything else. The girl was holding her best event on the floor of her bedroom. Why the finger food tea packets and sweetener were pre-packaged stuff that she could have scrounged out of her bag, the missing milk and honey, not a crumb coming from the kitchen. Why Tamarack hadn't shouted even one time. It all made sense, and that meant the odd sense of emptiness when you first got there was the right feeling. This was not a normal thing happening. You come into Mr. and Mayamont's house without permission, and it was to see their granddaughter who was supposed to be in trouble and not actually have a tea party upstairs. Yo, why are you grounded? She just huffed. It was dumb, Rose. Omi wanted me to do something I didn't want to do, and I said no way. Whatever that was supposed to mean, you never learned. Suddenly, rapid step echoed outside the hall outside the room. Tamarack cried out, "It's Omi, she's fast." Oh my god. During the amusement, Tamarack had forgotten the only reason that Granny hadn't already caught her. She'd been quiet before. I was not quiet. Tamarack hunched over, smacking her hand to her cheeks at realization. Not me whispering. She'd been her own undoing. The chick was up. Oh my god, I was not expecting it to like turn like this. You could hide under the bed. Wait, no good. The opening was blocked by a layer of toys 2 feet thick. Oh my god, the sound was getting louder and closer. Oh no. You darted back and forth in a panic. Oh my god. Okay. Dang. In that instant, Granny burst into the scene, barreling inside like an out-of-control train. Her jewelry clattered with sound of wheels cracking. Bro, young lady, what on earth? An ungodly racket. She should be asking that herself. Tamarack's racket was nothing compared to the one Granny just made. Her eyes were blown wide. They stretched out as far as the top to the bottom cabinet windows. You could see right through them into a fiery coal furnace that powered the train. Granny was furious. What is Rose doing here? Why's my best china thrown? Oh no. Oh, she's gonna be in so much trouble. I didn't think the extra scene would be Tamarack getting in trouble, bro. Granny couldn't stop talking fast. Gears were still turning in overdrive, but she was able to use her nice words in a less loud way when she addressed you. Thank you for coming over to see our little friend, but she's grounded. You're not supposed to be here right now. Tamarack has completely disregarded the rules of this household. I did not. Oop, Tamarack snapped, leaning into the oncoming crash fearlessly and puffing out her dress to seem bigger. You just said I couldn't go downstairs. I never did that even one time. That mastermind went into full monologue explaining every detail of her secret plan. It was exactly as you realized. The tea stuff was in the display cupboard in the hall. The upstairs hall, the food and the tea packets were in my bag. I have that here in my room. The special dress and your purse were in the big closet. Your room is up here too, Omi. And that's how I got my guests to come too. Your phone is charging by your bed. I use it to invite Rose. She came in from downstairs and went up here, but you never said she couldn't do that. And this. Termac turned her back to the threat for only a second in order to scrounge up the last mystery of her scheme, and the thermos. She held it high. Was from Opa. What Opa? Yeah, when he came home, I called him from the top of the stairs. I told him it was freezing and I needed a hot drink while I was trapped the whole night. He boiled the water in the kitchen, filled this, and brought it right to my room. And that was the whole story. Tamarack placed her hand on her hips, still gripping the thermos in one and smugly swaying her skirt. Granny left flabbergasted. See, you thought I would be able to have fun being stuck upstairs, but you were wrong. That's not my fault. That was Granny gonna do with that? Oh my God. What could she do about the ironclad defense? It was simple. Shout for her husband. Ernest, get your backside over here. Oh my God. That was the thing with uncontrollable trains. They didn't care how tall you had stood or how smart you thought you were. They kept charging straight ahead. A groaning echo came from outside. Someone had opened the door. Creaking footsteps followed. Three of you waited. Tamarack did so proudly with her chest out, and you shrinking in fear, and Granny indignantly. She tapped the pointed tip of her crystal buckle shoe. Invisible arms of pungent perfume came off of Granny in pulses. They curled oppressively through Tamarack's crowded bedroom. It was as if her frustration was so great, she could wield it into existence as a force in the real world. Oh no, eventually Mr. Bayamon tiptoed on large and heavy feet into the room. If the worried lines on his face, which were different from his regular wrinkles, didn't show how unprepared he was for this, the fact that he was shoeless, coatless, and hatless did. Mr. Bayamon never appeared that casual during the day, even in his own home. But it was an invitation he couldn't refuse. Tamarack's grandma became the unexpected fourth and attendant of the illegal tea party. Granny, much like Tamarack herself, cut straight to the important part. There wasn't even a hello. Or were you aware that your granddaughter was throwing a veritable ball with one of my nicest tea sets while she was supposed to be grounded? From Tamarack's own mouth, I heard that it was you who provided her hot water that was allowed to enter and allowed this entire circus to happen. Mr. Bayamon didn't meet the suspicious stare being leveled at him. His focus was mainly on the ceiling and floor. He hardly registered you were in the room. He simply scratched at his stubble with two fingers, speaking in a slow, measured pace. I didn't know about all that. He was that nervous because he got in trouble for making a mistake, or because he got caught as an accomplice. You weren't sure, neither was Granny. She didn't ease up on the glare. But Mr. Bayamon mumbled on. The weight of his wife's stink eye was perfectly well on his shoulders once he had a chance to get used to it. He was as strong as stone. Whatever has gone on in here, I'm not understanding the problem. I kept an ear open, never caught her sneaking down. Wasn't that what we heard from you? And that closed the case and sealed his fate. It no longer mattered what degree Mr. Bayamon had looked the other way. The side he was on was made clear. He was an ally. Oh, you old traitor. Now, normally that would be the part where Granny would sigh deeply and pretend how unfair everyone was to her. This was a normal disagreement. Granny wasn't being dramatic. She was serious, and she set her sights on her granddaughter once more. You were supposed to be here reflecting on what you said and what I had said. Playing around having fun is already being bad, but this is the tip of the iceberg, let me tell you. Each of Tamarack's defenses were knocked down one by one. You are not allowed to use my good dishes whenever you fancy or however you please. You shouldn't have touched them. Nor do you have permission to take my phone or purse without asking. And that beautiful, irreplaceable dress is only for holidays or otherwise special occasions. Being grounded is not a special occasion. That's plenty of rule breaking all on its own. Doing it when you were already in a load of trouble makes it inexcusable. And yet here you are making excuses. You're not as clever as you think. This party is over, young lady. Rose needs to go immediately. Granny ended her rant with a huff. You never seen her like that, and you never see Tamarack like that. She clung tightly to the skirt of her dress. Tears grew into big bubbles at the corner of her eyes. I didn't mean to. Mr. Bayamon's storm cloud gray eyes, looking eyes focused directly on his wife for the first time. No hint of blue sky could be seen in his irises. Oh dear. Granny really had become a train. Miss Bayamon couldn't even stop herself before she hurt someone. Sheesh. You faced Granny fiercely with tears in your eyes. Luckily for Tamarack, she still had an ally in her fight, Dorothea. Mr. Bayamon, one thing that remained usual about this crazy situation was how absolutely opposed he was from his passionate partner. The more worked up Miss Bayamon got, the more he didn't do that. He pardoned. Those kinds of words aren't necessary. Well, isn't this a fine turn of events? I only wanted to apply a hint of discipline for the first time, and now I'm a wicked witch of the West. Unexpectedly this time around, Granny did react in a regular way. And by that, you meant she woefully declared how no one was on her side, and even her husband had to undermine her, and so on. She pressed a weary hand to her forehead through it, and her mindset was already beginning to change, even if she had too stubborn to admit to directly. Mr. Bayamon continued, once again digging a couple of fingers into his chin. We both know Tamarack isn't doing what she needs to do, but that doesn't mean you should start doing things you shouldn't be either. There's not much of a rush as you feel there is. Don't force a spoonful of medicine down someone's throat. Tamarack will come around. And remember that no matter how you're acting, the truth is you're more worried than you're mad. This was the most you heard Tamarack's grandpa talk in a single go. You finally could grasp at least a little of what his way of speaking even was. For a man that elderly, Mr. Bayamon's voice sounded like it was something even older than that. Like maybe it was a 200-year-old instead of 100 or so. Too bad what he was saying made sense to everyone in the room except you. What happened between them and why? Granny's shoulders stopped. Who was grounded Bayamon girl here again? Her crescent-shaped eyes slowly turned to rest on her little granddaughter. Trails of tears still marked Tamarack's puffy cheeks, but new drops hadn't developed since her grandpa began talking. I hear you. I know when I'm outnumbered. We can leave things here for now. It'll get sore later. She stood tall once more, her heavy-looking necklace and weight so the heavy atmosphere couldn't keep her down for long. Young lady, you are no longer grounded. Tamarack tapped the tiny fists together. She was hopeful, but it didn't quite know what this would mean. Mr. Bayamon must have understood better. He grinned at his wife. Someone like Granny could never be hard for real. You could only pretend it for a little while. Well, what are you waiting for? Go on. Huh? You tapped your finger to your chest. No, not you. Goodness, I'm saying we better move this tea party into the drawing room. It'll be far more appropriate there. Besides, you were expecting Opa and my dusty bones to sit on the floor. Tamarack popped with a loud squeal, all smiles and all forgiveness. It looked like both of them were back to normal. Thank you, Omi. Tamarack shifted her hold on Granny to take her hand. The two left together, with Tamarack leading the way and Mrs. Bayamon telling her granddaughter to be careful with such fragile cargo. Both of them were laughing. For a minute, it was just you and Mr. Bayamon. Those ladies love each other. I hope you understand. What happened wasn't as serious as it might have looked to your eyes. The real problem is something else entirely. But it's a shadow of those bigger problems that make it hard to find a way out of even the smaller ones. He closed his eyes, considering important matters in a wise and sagey manner that only a person with wrinkles and silver hair could manage. Things are going to be okay, right? In the long run, it should be. When you live as long as I have, you realize how lengthy the long run can be. What does that mean? I can tell you, it was a promise. But I imagine you'll understand one day, when you're just a bit older. A small smile managed to make it onto his face, lines forming around it like cracks on the stone. For someone as rough around the edges as Mr. Bayamon, he could still be gentle. Though what he found was surprising was once he he got going. Mr. Bayamon was a little more like Miss Bayamon than you'd ever thought. They were definitely a pair in their grandparenty ways. The unexpected moment with Mr. Bayamon came to a swift and sudden end. Opa, get the tea set, would you? My hands are full here. Mr. Bayamon unconsciously moved to lift his hat, only to find it wasn't there. He wiped his forehead instead. I'll get the tea set. And he did. But it took more than that to fully set up the tea party in the new venue. Oh, it's so cute. Fresh water was boiled in the kitchen and placed in a prepackaged cookies from Tamarac's bag and a plate covered in sugar-coated shortbread. The fresh-baked cookies were glued together into sandwiches using a jam shaped like hearts and flowers. Mr. and Mrs. Bayamon had their own milk to use, but it wasn't the same as yours, so your oat milk remained the option for this party. They had their own type of honey too, but yours worked just as good. All of it came together in the drawing room where Mrs. Bayamon got to sit on her throne and entertain her family and one guest of honor. Mr. Bayamon kept his tea plain, but dipped cookies in it. Miss Bayamon liked a dash of honey with hers, and of course Tamarack needed some of everything. She giggled about how they were having a tea party around the coffee table. Got a big crackle out of Granny. Then Tamarack mentioned a familiar point. Doesn't this feel like we're fairies? And you had shared your imagination with her, and now Tamarack wanted to share it with others. Of course, she mentioned where she'd gotten the idea from. You took a nice long drink. The tea, sweet and smooth, went down your throat to warm you up from the inside out. And so did the company. Problems were still somewhere out in the world. You knew it for certain. But for this evening, they weren't invited to the party. Oh, that was so cute. Okay, that was a lot longer than I thought it would be, because that was approaching an hour. So thank you for watching this Mushy Monday. I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.